Hi, I'm Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to another edition of Taking Stock Live. Baby, why you blessing me? I can't get that song out of my head. We're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. Now, I really want to big up all of those of you who are watching me live tonight. I know the World Championships are on and the women are getting ready to run the 200 semis. You guys are going to have to keep an eye on the TV for me because I don't have TVJ here in the studio. So let me know in the comments how the races went. It starts at 8:05, and I'm not telling you to leave me because you can multitask and watch us both and let me know how it went. I'm expecting nothing less than excellence in the semis. At least our show wasn't during the finals, which is on Thursday. But yeah, keep me updated. And let me shout out our early viewers, especially Navardo Richards, who was the first one to comment today. He says, up and ready. Kish, always reliable, checking in from London. Jamar, they're in Westmoreland, live and ready. And Ramon, who says, I'm ready. Let's get that money. So, I kind of get thrown off because I just keep thinking about this song. And like the next, if you guys know the song, like the following line is, let me say nothing else about the line. And, if you're watching the World Championships and you happen to, miss a few minutes of this program, you can always scroll back to the beginning of this video whenever you're ready. So like after the live has ended, you can scroll back to the beginning. Now, once this video is over, another thing that you can do is head over to my website, KalilaReynolds.com. Right there, you can sign up for my newsletter, masterclass, buy your merch, read some articles. There's so many things that you can do over there. Also, remember to hit the like button. Those of you who are joining us live right now, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And let me know, of course, in the comments, where are you joining us from? I want to shout you out wherever in the country and wherever in the world you are. Now, here's a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business. Now, come on, let's get this money. How high will chicken prices go? Group President and CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group, Christopher Levy, will join us. The company's net profits are up $3 million for the year ended April 30, 2022, despite high inflation and issues at their Haiti operations. How did they do it? We'll find out. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. They'll share their views on the many updates. Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Dr. Malene Street Forrest, broke exclusively on Taking Stock last week. And Fosrich's board has considered a stock split and rights issue, or APO. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Regency Petroleum is inching closer to a possible initial public offer. GK Capital Management has signed on to act as the company's financial advisor, a move which it says will likely result in an IPO. Vice President of Investor Relations at GK Capital, Ryan Strachan, told KRM News that if the company does decide to go the IPO route, it would come before the third quarter of 2023. RPL was incorporated in Jamaica in May 2018 and supplies bulk cooking gas to commercial and residential customers. CEO of RPL, Andrew Williams, said that the company is focused on developing the automotive petroleum segment of its business. He said an injection of capital would help fuel its plans. See what we did there? PricewaterhouseCoopers and NCB Capital Markets have teamed up with Professional Football Jamaica to help 3 of Jamaica's Premier League football clubs find equity support and eventually list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The participating clubs are the Arnett Gardens Football Club, Montego Bay United Football Club, and Portmore United Football Club. PwC and NCB Cap will help the clubs prepare a business plan and develop a valuation, financial projections, and a financial model. They will be working with each club to determine their most viable equity option. NCB Cap has the option to broker the equity deals for each club. Jamaica's overall unemployment rate continued its downward trend in April, falling to a new record low of 6%. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, the overall number of persons in the labor force in April increased by almost 2% to 1.3 million. The unemployment rate for males is now at 4.7%, while the rate for females is 7.5%. The overall unemployment rate for youths aged 14 to 24 fell to 15.5% in April. Male youth unemployment fell from 21 to 15%, and the female rate dropped from 28 to 16%. Russian President Vladimir Putin has amended the country's ban on cryptocurrencies to include all digital payments. The amended law bans all digital asset payments such as security tokens, utility tokens, and non-fungible tokens (NFTs) as forms of payment for goods and services in the country. The update comes as Russian leaders insist that the country's ban on cryptocurrencies, which has been in place since January 2021, did not go far enough. The US dollar and the euro reached parity for the first time in 20 years last week. Parity means the two currencies have equal value, so the euro and US dollar are trading at a 1-to-1 exchange rate. The euro is the official currency of the 19 European countries that make up the eurozone. The last time that both currencies were at parity was 2002, when the euro was in its infancy. The Russia-Ukraine war, high inflation, and talks of a recession have seen the euro falling roughly 12% from 1.13 since the start of the year. Eurozone inflation is currently up to 8.6%, forcing the European Bank to raise interest rates for the first time in over a decade. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you to those of you who are joining us live, because I know there is another major event that could have your attention right now. So I am happy to see that our numbers are still looking just about normal. Fitara Jones Wallace says, let's get this money like Shelly, Sherika, and Elaine. That's absolutely right. And I just got our first update that who was it? Sherika won her heat, so congratulations to our girl Sherika in the semifinals. So we're now waiting on pure excellence, as expected, from our other ladies in the semis. So keep me updated in the comments, because I don't have it here in the studio. You guys will have to let me know, how that is going. Let me shout out. Let me see who else. Strong Link says Shelly is in a purple wig tonight. Oh, I can imagine the glory. She has been slaying this entire World Championships, as expected, as is usual. But I think so far, I feel like it's even better than before. I'm loving the looks at this World Champs. I heard her say in an interview that she packed like 10 weeks for this event. So big up Shelly and big up everybody who is representing Jamaica at the World Championships. Shout outs to those of you watching from all over the world. Dacian Reed says, first time here and I'm excited. Yay, I'm so happy to have you with us, Dacian. Denval is joining us from Nassau in the Bahamas. And Javon Russell checking in from St. Mary. He says, no sign of the U.S. stocks on our local exchange as yet. And Jamaican Teas has a spinoff in the making. Yeah, well, we know about that spinoff that's been coming for some time. I don't have a timeline on that yet. And as for the U.S. stocks trading via the local stock exchange, Mrs. Street Forrest said Monday or Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. We haven't seen it yet, but we are anxiously awaiting that update. So let's get into tonight's show. How high will chicken prices go? Among other things, the Jamaica Broilers Group's net profits are up $3 billion for the year ended April 30, 2022. And let me just clarify, because in our graphic in the teaser, it said 3 million. It's actually 3 billion. So that correction has to be made. And this increase comes despite high inflation and issues at their Haiti operations, major issues. So how did they do it? Well, joining me now to discuss, we have Group President and CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group, Christopher Levy. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, how are you, Kalila? Nice to be here.
I am good. It's so good to have you. I can't believe it's the first time I've had you on the show.
Well, that's all right. Never too late.
Well, welcome to the program. So like I said, we've never had Jamaica Broilers on before. I think most people know who you are, but for those who don't, and we do have some international viewers, just explain to your audience what you do.
I am the president and CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group. We are a multinational poultry organization with operations in the United States, Jamaica, and Haiti.
Okay, so what does the company do, Jamaica Broilers?
Poultry. We're in chicken business. We
Best
produce
dressed
chicken,
chicken.
best dressed chicken, and we produce best dressed chicken in the United States. We operate in five different states in America, and we have a good business there, and then obviously here in Jamaica. And we do animal feeds and baby chicks and poultry meat in the supermarkets, wholesalers, fast foods, obviously hotels, and then we have operation in Haiti that you mentioned in your intro.
Right. So you are not just any poultry producer, you're a major poultry producer for Jamaica. And like you mentioned, you have international operations as well.
Yes,
And how long in total has the company been in business?
roughly about 65 years.
65 years. So very
Yes,
well established company. You've been
yeah,
around. You're
been
not
around
new
a
to
while.
this.
We've seen it come and go.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So
so,
right now we are in a really tough period, Chris. So there have been all the supply chain issues, all the inflation. A lot of things have been going on globally that have affected Jamaica naturally. So
yeah.
let's speak to chicken because one of the things everybody wants to know is about those prices. Chicken is a staple in many households. Any plans to increase those prices?
Well, if you're a shareholder, you're good with that. If you're not, no, chicken. The inflation that we're facing in Jamaica is not unique to Jamaica. What we've seen is a tremendous run up in commodities that yeah, it's like a rising tide, whether it's oil, wheat, corn, those sort of basic commodities, and it has a straight pass through effect around the world. You're seeing the issue with getting wheat and corn out of Ukraine with this war. You're
Right,
seeing the devaluation of the euro. I know they don't like to use that word, but that's impacting. You're having food supply issues. Then everything is compounded by just the challenges with logistics, and it's almost like a perfect storm. Uh, so it has it. I don't think that we in Jamaica are out of it. The talk about recession in the United States is getting louder, and I do feel from where we sit that it is going to have the impact in the U.S. economy is going to slow down. There's no doubt about it. In from our perspective.
so, to
So,
what extent have the factors that you just mentioned, the increase in the feed prices, everything you just mentioned, to what
yeah.
extent has that affected your production?
Well, it's a very interesting dynamic because what has happened is a lot of the competing proteins have gotten much more expensive than poultry. So our demand and a lot of results that you're seeing there is because our volumes are very good, both in the US and in Jamaica. We can talk about Haiti separately, but the what you find a lot of the competing products have gotten more expensive, whether it's beef or pork or imported products here in Jamaica. And you're seeing a deepening of the small farmer base in Jamaica with this increased inflationary pressure. Folks are starting to do a lot more of their own farming, a lot more of their own production locally, and we're able to capitalize on that.
Right. So yes, we will talk about Haiti because
Yeah,
naturally, I know you've seen the articles, you know what it is. But
yeah,
let's continue talking a little bit about the United States. You said
sure,
not too long ago that those inflationary effects, that recession that seems likely, you do operate in 5 states.
yeah.
What is the plan there for dealing with that?
Well, the market in the United States is considerably much deeper than Jamaica. What I mean by that is that the you're talking about a market with 350 million people. So and in that space we're a relatively small player. So you find that the opportunities there for us are a little bit different than when you're a dominant player like maybe a Tyson or a Pilgrims or so the opportunities for us are really around deepening our customer relationships, building out that niche of the brand. People love the brand. It has taken off in the most amazing way. We're expanding over there in the United States very, very aggressively. And I do feel that as this economy, and here we're talking about the US economy, as that economy changes a little bit and you're getting into election period in November and all of these sort of wild cards, including the war, I think one thing that's we're very confident about is that our markets will stay strong. We're looking at 18 to 24 months. And I feel that based on where we're situated and how we position the products in that market, there is a great deal of price stability that we'll be able to maintain.
Oh, so 18, I missed what you said about 18 to 24 months. What's going to happen then?
Just our in terms of the overall market demand and stability in the poultry market in the US.
Okay, so you're saying that you think you'll be able to maintain prices over the next 18 to 24
Well, I
months?
should say really maintain our margins. I think our pricing and margins will continue to be good in the United States.
What is your pricing strategy over there? Because you mentioned the Tysons and the other very big brands, very well-known brands. Do you compete on price, or do you try to just carve out a niche on the quality that you provide?
You can't compete on price and capacities with the Tysons and the Pilgrims and Purdue's. So what you do is you really try and find a strategy and build a brand and brand loyalty that really you see the switching costs for poultry is quite low. And if you think about it for a moment, you don't actually choose the poultry you buy in the US. The supermarket chain does. They might offer you their host brand and they might offer you maybe one or two other brands in there. So when you get into that stream that supermarket is putting your product in front of consumers, there's a great deal of confidence in that brand and in your supply and in your quality. And the consumers then start asking for it and saying, listen, this is our brand. We can identify it. This is where we get it. We like how it's present. And all of those sort of things flow through. So it's not a matter of, it's a lot different than Jamaica. The wholesale market there trades on just price, straight price. And it's a commodity up there, and commodity goes up, commodity come down based on supply.
You mentioned that you are growing aggressively in the United States. So what's the expansion plan? Where are you going next?
United States.
I mean, which other state? You have 5 states. So what's going to be state number 6?
I think, Kalila, let me answer you this way. That I want to bring it back that you're dealing in a market of 350 million people. That is huge compared to our market in Jamaica. So the opportunity, for example, to supply like a Publix or a Winn-Dixie's or anywhere like that is great. But there's 10 other supermarket chains and consortiums of supermarket that are even bigger than those. So once you're in that stream, the demand for them to say, okay, we're going to put you in this location, but in the next year we want you in, I don't know, let's say Texas, and we're going to build out Texas and Georgia, and that sort of strategy, and the amazing depth and size of the market has really required us to think a little differently. So we do grow with our customers and based on how our customers are feedback to us, and it's very structured in that regard.
You mentioned that you expect to be able to maintain prices in the US for the next 18 to 24 months. What about here in Jamaica?
The challenge in Jamaica, and I know you're going to have a couple of analysts look at to get involved later, but one of the challenges in Jamaica is definitely our margin pressure. You're in a market of 3 million people. The average earning of that 3 million people is considerably lower than the United States. But there is still a tremendous opportunity in Jamaica vis-a-vis competing products. And I think that the challenge we face in Jamaica is not so much chicken prices, and that's a nice it's a nice lightning rod, but there is so much competing for that earning of that dollar that a nurse earns, or a somebody office staff earns, or there's so much competing, whether it's taxi fare, electricity, all of that, that when you look at the spend for food, it's relatively very fixed and very um, inflexible, if you know what I mean. So when you have prices going up for electricity and fuel, and some of these other competing um, things for their dollar, you have to get very creative with how you sell your products in this market. If I give an example that you're seeing in the States now is what they call shrinkflation, and you've heard it around. What that means is, for example, you buy a bag of chips. It used to weigh 5 ounces. Now it weighs 4 ounces, but you're paying the same price for the bag. So your price point strategy becomes very important, especially in Jamaica. And so that's some of the strategies that we use here in that regard.
So that sounds like a lot of words to say that you can't guarantee the same price stability here in Jamaica.
Jamaica is you can't, because you see our prices in the US are really market driven. You have an overproduction in the US, your prices are going to go through the floor. You have underproduction in the US, your prices are going to go through the roof. Jamaica is a lot more price stability because it's a lot of pass through. Grains move up, poultry is going to move up, eggs are going to move up, bread is going to move up, those sort of things. Dollar devalues, prices are going to move up relative to the Jamaican value, and it's straight pass through. So what we really try and do in Jamaica is maintain a margin, and that margin has been under pressure for the last couple of years, but what has compensated some of that is, like I mentioned, our volumes have been very good.
Volumes. All
Yeah,
right. And what will improve those volumes is having a better overall economy, right? People can afford
yeah,
more
I
chicken.
think, I think there are a couple of things in the economy that are quite encouraging. You mentioned it in the intro. I think the employment rate is very, very, or unemployment rate is low, and that's very encouraging. I think we're looking at a strong tourism season. I think the stability that we've seen in the dollar is very, very, very good. I'm not kidding you. If you want this country to really spin out of control, is that devaluation. I do think the strategy of interest rate inflation, measured and balanced, has been very effective. So I think Jamaica is in a very good position, and as wages increase in Jamaica, obviously. But one of the things that really works well in Jamaica is we've seen a tremendous opening of export markets into the Caribbean for our poultry products, and that's really exciting. And we're projecting considerable growth there. So
Right. So let's talk about Haiti because that factored quite a bit in your most recent report. Tell me, what are the operations that you have in Haiti and what are the challenges that you're facing there now?
Haiti is a very tragic story. I'll be honest with you. It's a country with tremendous potential, fabulous people. It has been hammered in such a way that it's sad in a lot of ways. Everything from earthquake to hurricane to the assassination of president, and right now it's just total anarchy over there. Our product lines are, we started out doing poultry and we do a small amount of poultry meat, but it's really around table eggs, breakfast eggs, and we at one point produced more eggs in Haiti than anywhere else in the Caribbean. We are the largest producer in the Caribbean, and it was doing well. We saw the potential of the business. We saw the opportunities there. The market was good, but um, where Haiti is at now, it is very, very difficult to do business. It's not safe to have folks there. It's really a tragic story. And the
But
thing,
you took a big risk entering Haiti to begin with because Haiti has historically been
yeah,
very tumultuous. They've had problems from time,
yeah.
but political problems, earthquake. They're just like the most unlucky country probably in the world. And you took that risk and still entered Haiti. So, given what you have just said as well, any plans to now leave Haiti?
Well, let me. I think from a business perspective, it's not prudent to put any more money in Haiti. I think what we're doing is trying to consolidate our operations as best as we can. Right now, first and foremost is just keeping our crew safe. The challenge that you do face in Haiti is um, the it's an economy and it needs investment. But if the country is not structured, then it's tough. It's just not going to happen. And when we invested first about 12 years ago, we saw what were very encouraging signs for structure and discipline and law and order in Haiti. And remember, Digicel was over there. We met with Digicel and went through and we met with the banks and everybody. And we were encouraged. And we really are disappointed in a lot of ways because it could have been a good run. But you win some, lose some. We've met great people and we've had impact on people's lives. And, that's a very, very important part of our culture. And I do feel that the this story in Haiti is a sad one, but that's how it goes sometimes. The Lord has blessed us in other ways too. So
Blue Collar Finance wants to know why not exit Haiti, call it quits, and re enter if things turn around?
the the exiting a hard stop in Haiti is very difficult because the birds that are there, you're producing food, and the birds that are there will have about a year's lifetime. So the decision point of a hard stop gets very expensive in terms of just terminating. And here we're talking about 400,000 chickens. Um, and so you kind of have to think, all right, how do you wind this down? It's not a matter of just, okay, let's turn it off today. And, that it's not that simple. But without a doubt, that is definitely um, a, you're just constantly working in numbers, to be quite frank.
It sounds like it's a consideration.
I think everything's on the table, Kalila. I think that's one of the responsibilities we have as leadership in the company is that everything's on the table. Um, there is no, you make your business decisions with the information that you have, and you look at its structure and environment. And the thing that has changed most in my heart is that I I don't see the country of Haiti turning around anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's really, really unfortunate
It's
because,
I'll be honest with you, it's emotional to me because they're a neighbor. I've spent a lot of time over there. We've met great people. We have tremendous team members over there, and you just see this constant headwind that they're facing. You see poor decision making, you see the corruption, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And now it's just straight anarchy. It's the gangs control the cities, and it's not a good situation.
yeah. Let me take some viewer questions. Charles wants to know, we mentioned the profits, $3 billion for the past year. He wants to know how much of that will be for dividends.
Jamaica Broilers has a policy of paying 20% of profit, 20% of all profits after tax in dividends. So you can
So
do
that
the
could
math.
answer your question, Charles. You have a
20%
straight up
after
policy,
tax.
20%.
after
After
tax.
tax, after tax.
Have to
Next
pay the
question
tax now.
comes from Ryan, who wants to know what measure will JP put in place to mitigate against the upcoming drought, heat waves, and fires in the States? Climate change is here and is escalating.
Um, well, a lot of our operations in the United States is the chicken houses are not as there's a lot of technology in there regarding temperature control, humidity control, and that sort of thing. Um, and one of the great advantages that we have in the US is being in 5 states, the risk is very spread out. So, for example, one of our operations is up in Iowa. Now, it might be hot to people in Iowa, but for us, that's like in air conditioned time. And then when winter comes, it's unbelievably cold. So you're getting this risk um, being spread in terms of just the environmental challenges that come up from time to time. One area might be more exposed to hurricanes, while one is more exposed to tornadoes and this sort of thing. So there, in that diversity, there is a great deal of security.
Okay. Kristen wants to know how much do you spend on feed, grain, wheat, and other supplies?
Hi. Um, in Jamaica, um, a lot.
I'm sure.
I tell you,
But how
just
much? I think the question is
roughly, you're looking at every month somewhere in the region of about 14 to 15 million US dollars.
14 to 15 million US. I think that question is related to the whole inflation cost that we're talking
Yeah,
about. So like how
a
much has
year
that how
ago,
much has that gone up in the past
a
year?
year ago, that's gone up roughly 100%,
100%. It's doubled.
doubled in a year. It's
Mm,
unbelievable what has happened. And just, I'll give you, I mean, it sounds like your crew that you have here are um, can understand numbers. The, when that happens, there's a considerable pressure on the working capital that's invested in the company. And the challenge that you face is how you finance that equity. It's either going to be debt or it's going to come out of equity that you're financing, out of your cash flow. And that has driven up the working capital in the company by roughly 40 to 50% for the same level of business. And those are some of the pressures that companies worldwide are facing. You know, there's no more investment to do the same, whether you're producing paper products or you're producing chicken or you're producing motor cars. All of a sudden, steel prices are through the roof, energy price, all of that. Working capital has to be financed.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's rough. Next
very.
question comes from Khalil Mitchell. He wants to know what's the outlook for JBG going into the plant-based proteins business? Is that something you'd consider?
No,
Plant-based proteins?
no.
Not for you.
Straight answer. I'm
Stick
sorry,
with-
I'm black and white that way. No, I don't think the plant based protein is at the scalable level for us to. It's something
Mm,
we're aware of, something we keep our eye on. But plant based protein is a whole different business model. And
yeah.
the scalability of it isn't quite there yet. It's a very, very highly technical um, industry, and I do feel that there will be a niche for it. Um, but at this point, that's not on the radar.
Next
That
question comes
one trick.
from Judge, who wants to know if you have any plans to expand in the Caribbean, including exports.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of exports out of Jamaica. It's one thing we've seen change over the last 12, 18 months, and our exports into the Caribbean are really quite impressive. And we do see that growing. We're actually investing in Jamaica for that now. And we do feel that with all the uncertainty and supply chain issues, it is actually playing well for us to be able to supply countries that are closer to us. Some of the logistics is difficult being around the Caribbean, but without a doubt, it's becoming a very, very serious segment in our Jamaica operations.
So, which countries do you see as the easiest opportunity?
Well, right now we're exporting to roughly about 14 countries in the Caribbean. from Cayman down to Barbados, St. Lucia. We export to BVI. So different products to different countries in a lot of ways. Some countries really take just further processed products, that is chicken nuggets and wings and those sort of things. Other countries like Cayman, like bone-in chicken and the tray packs and those sort of things in the supermarket. So you'll find that each country has its own little, what I would almost call, twist on things, but because of our capacities and our flexibility, we're able to send mixed containers, and it really works well for the customers down there or
Yeah, I
around.
gotta say, I love your premium products. I love the nuggets. I love the chicken breast strips. They're so easy and they taste good. And
Yeah, have you
few
tried
minutes in the oven
have you
and
tried the new
the
best
kids are
restaurant
happy.
sausage? It's really
Yes, the premium sausage. I really like it a lot as well.
amazing
It tastes
product.
really good. And the price, I mean, come on
Good.
now.
Ask someone what you do. You see, you try and
And
work.
it's something as it's a local product. I love supporting
Everything.
local products if the
Thank you.
quality is there, and your quality is definitely there.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take this last question from Gamar.
Okay.
Gamar says, I rear chicken privately. I sell mostly in my community. Do you have any advice?
Um, yeah, manage your biosecurity carefully. Keep the place clean. Who goes in, who goes out. Keep your water pans clean. Keep your feed clean. Manage your biosecurity. Don't grow pigs next to chickens.
All
Any
right.
other advice I'm going to charge you for?
Good advice. Well,
I
thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. It was great having you on the show for the first time, and I wish you
yes.
much, much, much success
Thank you,
coming up.
and all the best. Take care.
Yes, you too. So, guys, keep me updated. What's going on in the races, in the rest of the semis? I don't see anybody commenting, but you know, that's a good thing because that means you're paying attention to our show, which is great. But I also want to know what's going on. I know Sharika won her heats. The other heats finished yet? What's happening with the races? I see something in the chat. Let me see what it says. Elaine third, Shelly first, and Shelly and Sharika won her heat. All right, good. Thanks for the update. And so we all know. So they're all through to the finals on Thursday. And we look forward to that. And thank you for watching this segment of the show. Oh, so comment below and take tonight's poll question. So last week on Taking Stock, we had a lot of breaking money news from JSC Managing Director Dr. Malene Street Forrest. She said that Jamaican investors will be able to trade on US and Canadian markets this week. She actually said Monday or Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. I don't see it happening yet, but she said this week. So we're looking out for that. What's your reaction to this news? Take our poll on YouTube or on Twitter. I'll believe it when I see it. Great news. Can't wait. I'm not interested in those markets or other. If you have another comment or another opinion, just leave a comment. And while you're at it, hit that like button. Let us know let people know that you like the show. Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Time now for your market recap. The JC Combined Index was almost flat last week, falling by 300 points or less than 0.5%. 115 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, July 15, 2022. 38 advanced, 66 declined, and 11 stayed the same. 94 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $528 million. Dollar was the most traded stock, taking up almost 11% of market volume, with people buying and selling 10 million shares in the company. The stock opened this week at $2.81. Sagicor Select Fund Financial traded the second highest volume. People bought and sold nearly 9 million shares in the company. The stock's price remained unchanged to open the new week at 48 cents. And Wigton Wind Farm ordinary shares rounded out the most traded, taking up almost 8% of market volume with 7 million shares trading. The stock's price fell by 2 cents to open this week at 53 cents. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. ISP Finance was last week's biggest gainer, jumping 73% to open the new week at $29.50. AMG Packaging and Paper is up nearly 24% to open this week at $4.87. And Radio Jamaica is up 13% to open the new week at $2.92. On the losing side now, Kingston Properties was last week's biggest loser, down 20% to open Monday at $6.38. First Rock Real Estate Investments USD was the second biggest loser, down 14% to close last week at 6 cents US. And Cargo Handlers was down 13% to close last week at $11.22. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index was mostly flat last week. Massey Holdings was the most traded stock. It opened this week at $5.01 TT. First Caribbean was the market's biggest gainer, up almost 10% to open this week at $5.50 TT. And on the losing side, Calypso Macro Index Fund fell 8% to open the new week at $20.23 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones was up less than 0.5% last week, while the S&P 500 declined 0.5%, and the Nasdaq declined almost 1%. The slight dip in fuel prices continued last week, with gas and diesel prices falling another 25 cents each. In foreign exchange, it took an average $152.61 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. And on the crypto markets, Bitcoin rose 10% in the past 5 days, trading at $22,245 on Monday, while Ethereum rose 33% in the past 5 days, trading at $1,484 on Monday. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica National Group. We'll help you find a way.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It's time now for The Analysts, and I'm joined by business writer at The Observer, David Rose, and guest analyst, Andre Thompson. So where are you guys? David, Andre. All right, there they are. Where's David? There he is. All right, cool. So before we get started, David, you said that I saw in the private chats that the actually did launch today. The direct market access launch actually did happen today. I didn't get invited. I feel offended. We should have been invited to that. I didn't get any press release, any notice, any invitation, nothing. But you're the man, David. You always got the info. So
after, not before. Or you find it in the day or minutes before. Somebody still group and that's why I found out about it.
Repeat that, I didn't hear you.
So I was saying that's a JC style where you find out after the event or minutes before the event, or somebody shared and you find out about it. Because somebody shared in that group earlier today and that's actually found out about it. 4 p.m. today at Harbour Street, they launched the direct market access platform. QMax Wealth Management is actually the first broker that's going to be, piloting the platform. So the brokers haven't said anything as yet.
Okay, so you weren't invited either?
Kalila, as I said, the JSC style, you find out after the event occur or on the day of the event.
Oh boy. All right. Well, we're going to look into it and find out what's going on. So for those of you who are regulars to the program, you always watch us, you would be noticing a new face tonight, and that is the face of Andre Thompson. Welcome, Andre.
Hey, Kalila. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Looking forward to this discussion tonight.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So, I'm a local retail investor as well as financial analyst. I like to keep up to date with the happenings on the local markets, as well as the international market, as well as the overall economic landscape. And, I use all of that to guide my personal investing decisions and things like that. So that's pretty much me. That's it.
Well, we are happy to have you and to hear your perspective on our topics for this evening. David, the audience is saying that your audio is a little bit low, and I was wondering if you do sound a little bit low. So if you can just adjust that. So something again?
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit better, yeah. But now we're getting a feedback. So yeah, so you guys, when you're not speaking, just mute so that we don't get the feedback, all right? So you just heard, or you just viewed the interview with Chris Levy from Jamaica Broilers, and we know how they've been, very badly affected by their Haiti operation, but they still managed to pull off an increase in profits and an increase in revenues despite all of that. So David, let's start with you. What's your take on Jamaica Broilers right now?
Well, Chris Levy, kind of spelled it out where companies looking to continue to grow its volumes domestically in Jamaica and, continue to grow the US business. It's disappointing to see what happened with Haiti, but in all honesty, Haiti has just, had an unfortunate history. First black independent country, but, the present day isn't as appealing as we'd like it to be. He's having quite a battle right now with maintaining margins because although Jamaica Broilers revenue went up by like 30% for Jamaica, their margins, the gross margin went up by probably about less than 10%. And look at the actual gross margin, it went from like, I think it was 12.04% to like 10.7%. So you kind of seen the compression in the margins. So segment result in 2021 was 4.07 billion, right? And it's 4.85 now in 2022. So revenue went up big time, but the segment result, which is basically the operating profit, really didn't move up at the same pace. And we have to remember, Jamaica Broilers just had 10% increase in January in the Jamaican operations for chicken prices. And the company still has great traction. As you pointed out, chicken is a regular staple, but it's kind of hard for him, honestly.
So, Andre, you heard the interview as well with Chris Levy. Do you think that it's time for them to just throw in the towel on Haiti?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's an unfortunate situation in Haiti, amidst the political and economic uncertainty and all the instability that's been happening there. They've downsized the operations. I believe that they'd want to have it at more favorable levels that they feel would drive greater profitability there, a smaller size operation for which they can have better oversight of, that would best navigate all the turbulent waters that Haiti is currently experiencing. So I've faith in the executive team to continue to monitor the situation, and should they decide to make a full exit, then so be it. But in the meantime, I support to continue to watch the path forward given the downsized operations
and make the best decision on behalf of the company, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken a look at the latest results as well. Anything in particular apart from Haiti, or if you want to, go over Haiti again, anything in particular that stood out to you that you wanted to bring to our attention?
Okay, so if I could just
You're sharing a screen?
share my screen.
Sure.
You guys able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically to look at the performance, we see where they delivered net profit of 3 billion for the 2022 financial year. This would have been a 34% year-over-year increase, and we know that it was led by growth in the Jamaican and especially the US operations. However, amidst the increase in profitability, we're seeing where the net margin actually declined. So I believe, we know it would have been influenced by higher direct costs, given higher commodity prices, higher fuel prices, greater prices in terms of wheat and corn. Despite the compression of the gross profit margin, as well as the net profit margin, they were still able to report increased profitability. So I believe this is a good feature to keep our eyes on, especially the growth that we're seeing in the US operations. So on a year-over-year basis, the profit increased 34%. However, a part of it was influenced by finance income of 593 million, which the notes would have defined that to be debt forgiveness, which was used to pay off qualifying expenses. So should we exclude this debt forgiveness, profit would amount to 2.5 billion, which was 8.7% higher than the 2021 2.3 billion net profit. I have the net margin falling from 15% to 4%. That 4% includes other income as well as this finance income in the denominator of it. So as I said, notwithstanding the compression of the margins was able to drive higher profitability. So I believe that once higher commodity prices abate, I believe that the efficiencies and the growth that they're seeing both in the US operations should contribute to greater profitability going forward. But it's really very much dependent on the direct costs coming back down. You know, some of those features beyond their control, but you know, central banks across the world raising interest rates, if they're able to curb inflation, I would say price increases slowing, and they are able to improve their gross margins, then I believe that the profitability should improve going forward. So to move forward to the revenue, you know, splendid growth in revenue, 12% compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years. We made a 33% year-over-year increase in revenue, and then a 23% year-over-year increase in gross profit. So for the 2022 financial year, gross profit margin was 23.8 million, 8%, and this would compare to 25.7% in 2021 and 26.6% in 2018. As mentioned, gross profit margin increased due to higher grain costs. So to look at the segment, we've seen where the trend in the Jamaican operations, you know, it's grown substantially, 33% year over year, and especially the trend in the US operations. You know, that operation, earn of hard currency, reported a 41% year over year increase in US operations. So that's the segment to look at. It's steadily increasing with respect to the overall percentage of total revenues, the US operations, specifically speaking. And then, you know, Haiti, they reported a 43.9% decline in the operations revenue. Looking at the segment results, 19% year-over-year growth in Jamaica operations segment result, and an explosive 54% year-over-year growth in the US operations segment results. And then, you know, we know that they have made a 364 million loss from the Haiti operations. So how did the price react following the news of the earnings? The price was trading at around 26.28 following the posting of the earnings, and then a little bit of time for the earnings to marinate. The stock has ticked upwards. It closed at 29.59 today and is currently trading at a PE ratio of 11.24 times, which compares to 17.46 times for key peers, and the 5-year average PE ratio for JBG of 16.28 times. So, you know, pretty much to wrap up, it's one to watch. Going forward, that I believe for the last 2 quarters they've been doing $1 billion in revenue, in net profit. Sorry, so if they're able to continue that trend, continue to grow US operations, maintain the Jamaican operations. Chicken meat is pretty much a consumer staple. These products tend to be more, demand is more stable, whether the economy is performing well or not. So chicken is a consumer staple. It's inelastic in demand. So I believe that, you know, once JBG, you know, passes on the price increases to consumers, we're likely to, demand is likely to not change materially, because, you know, we are Jamaicans, we will eat mackerel, we will eat sardine, but at the end of the day, Sunday we want chicken. Some days of the week we want chicken. So I think they should be able to weather the storm going forward. So one to watch.
I have a question from a viewer. Guys, mute, please. All right. Yeah, I have a question from a viewer. And before I ask this question, let me just run the standard disclaimer that the information presented in this segment and in this entire show is for education and information purposes only. This is not to be construed as investment advice. That said, here is the question. And the question comes from Javon Russell, who wants to know: Jamaica Broilers could be considered a blue chip company given that it's been around for 65 years. Is it still a good time to invest to reap investor value and reward? What are your opinions? I'll start with you, David.
Well, it really comes down to what you're looking for in essence, because
You're sounding very, very low, David.
I said it comes down to what you are looking for in essence, because Chris Lee basically pointed out where, you know, they have a 20% dividend payout policy. And, you know, the dividend yield for Jamaica Broilers, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think it's past 4%. So that's something to consider, you know, if your company is looking for value from that perspective, because I remember stories of persons saying, you know, they bought Jamaica Broilers back in 1999 and 2000 after the whole financial meltdown for like 35 cents. The dividends now surpass the stock price purchased it for long ago. So there is some consideration, some balance into it. but at the same time, you have to look at the reality and the potential growth prospects, because as the country grew, they're able to supply more to the population who demanded more food, in this case, more chicken meat. So it all comes down to what you want to discuss with your financial advisor and what you see as a picture of the company.
Okay. Yeah, you just have to bear with us, guys, with David's audio, because it's not only low, we're getting some type of disturbance too. It's like it's coming in a little bit choppy, David. Next question comes from Khalil, so this was based on Andre's comment. He says, is the quality chicken of JBG really inelastic, as some Jamaicans are challenged and turning to chicken back? And of course, this is just your opinion. What do you think, Andre?
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, demand will be affected, once there has been price increases. Mr. Levy would have shared that, chicken is not only competing with other foods, it's pretty much, the budget that you have to spend on other necessary items. You have to buy gas, you have to buy groceries, you have to pay light bills, utility bills, all the works. So with respect to the I believe chicken is inelastic in demand, where you there will be instances where you see demand falling off, but it won't be the level compared to consumer discretionary items, luxury items, things that we don't really need. So people might opt to shift to chicken back, to mackerel, to all the works. However, the fall off in demand won't compare to luxury items and things like that. So I pretty much like over an extended period, it's largely, I'd say I'm of the impression that the demand for chicken would largely be stable.
And we've seen that over time. So compare it historically throughout any other period as well. The demand hasn't fallen off much, if any. People still want their chicken. So let's move on to another topic. David, mute for me. Yeah, so there's some challenge with his audio tonight. Fosrich is another company that's been in the news lately. Their board has considered a stock split and a rights issue and/or APO. What's up with that, David? What's going on with Fosrich and these moves that they're making?
So Fosrich is really and truly looking to expand further. So the company plans to, or has a target of increasing their revenue by at least 8% in 2022. At the same time, their first quarter performance, from a profitability standpoint, almost mirrored their entire 2021 period, in the entire 12 months. So that's kind of showing that the company is making greater inroads from sales perspective, or from a profitability standpoint. But the company, got the approval for the SCZ, which is Blue Emerald in Clarendon. So, that's where they transform our business, the PVC pipes, and so forth. But right now, the company is either potentially looking to use that capital for some new venture we don't know about as yet, or, to potentially pay down some upcoming debt, as well as, support working capital. Because although the company says, they want to do either a rights issue or APO, they say they want to remain in the junior market, which, has a constraint of a $500 million share cap. There's around $300 something million right now, or 270. They have about $130 million worth of space left that they can actually do to actually stay in the junior market, because at the end of this year, their 100% tax remission ends. Consideration. Their stock split takes effect on July 27. It was approved at the AGM as well. So all that means is, if you own 100 shares now and the price is $35, you'll now own 1,000 shares and the price will be $30.50. So although the number of shares has increased and the price has decreased, the value hasn't changed. It's still the same in essence. And the reality, and something that I pointed out earlier was respect to Jamaica Broilers, they're the exclusive supplier for KFC, and we've seen those lines as well. But respect to Fosrich, I like what I'm seeing with them so far in terms of growth. And it's a construction per se, that sector, but the benefit from the construction sector is growth and the booming the economy as well. And they're looking to go heavy in renewables. So let us see what's going on for them.
What's your take on it, Andre? So Javan says he was advised not to buy Fosrich when it was trading below 10 Jamaican dollars. Can you imagine the regret? Where is it now?
Man, can you imagine? 36.
36.
Yeah, so it started the year off at 905 and now it's at 36.25. So that's a year-to-date change of 300%. So
Nice.
yeah, Fosrich has been doing they've been doing a lot of work. They've been gone into manufacturing PVC pipes, repairing transformers and all the work. So now they're raising cash, likely to expand their existing operations, as David mentioned, could be to a new expand to introduce new operations. Who knows? But pretty much I believe the market has been reacting favorably. So we're not sure as yet what they're doing, if they're going to do an additional public offering of shares or if they're going to do a rights issue. No one knows, but the price has been going up. One could argue that investors are positioning to be in that rights issue pool, because that a rights issue is pretty much primarily to existing Fosrich investors. So that could have shine the put the focus on the shares, and investors wanted to jump in. And I mean, not only that, but the company has just been doing well overall. I believe profits for the March quarter would have moved to 130 plus million, and that would have compared to probably around 40 million the same period in 2021. So they've just been doing good all around, and they're taking advantage of the increase in profitability, the growth in the market cap to issue additional debt. I know that this would be in an environment where equity is somewhat more, raising equity is somewhat more attractive. Interest rates are high, so it seems that they're opted to raise equity as opposed to debt. So it's one to watch. We all know that when pretty much a stock split takes place and the stock price falls to a lower nominal amount, retail investors tend to jump in more, because you can buy more Fosrich shares if it's trading at $3.65 than if it's trading at $36. So July 27th is the date. One to watch. Let's see how it works out.
Okay, O'Shane is making the point. He says at the AGM, they said rights issue first, and if that's not fully utilized, then an APO will follow. And I have a question from Christopher. And once again, standard disclaimer, this is for educational and information purposes only. This is not to be construed as advice. Christopher wants to know, what are your forecasts for Fosrich stock price after the stock split? Do you think it's going to run? And because new investors it will be more affordable for new investors to buy this stock.
So I mean, yeah, I won't give a forecast price with respect where the stock is likely to head. But if you look at history, normally when there's a stock split that takes place, there's a lot more trading. The lower nominal price facilitates a lot more trading. It's more liquid. Retail investors tend to jump in because we're of this mindset that we like when the stock is cheaply priced. So history shows that normally you see increased trading activity. So with respect to the direction, if it's up or down, I won't project that, but let's see.
All right, fair enough. Well, the last thing I want to talk about this evening is that breaking money news that we heard on the show last week, and we're now hearing that it was launched today as well. Nicole Nixon saying that it was launched today at JSE for the Canadian market. QMax is the only broker right now, Barita following closely. So, of course, that breaking money news coming from Dr. Malene Street Forrest right here on Taking Stock last week, saying that investors will be able to trade via the JSE on Jamaican and Canadian stock markets. I want your reactions to that. Like, how big a deal is this, David?
Well, it's been a long time coming, because I think it's from probably 2020 annual report. It was being mentioned. They said it would come last year, it would come earlier this year. Because we're told it should have come by June. So kind of it launched now is still a progressive thing. It does open up opportunity for there to be, greater trading opportunities and diversification for investors who wanted the opportunity to actually invest outside of Jamaica. What I've heard so far is that, you have to put up a secondary account for, that kind of trading or purchasing of securities. So while you have your JSE account to purchase stocks on the JSE, the Jamaican dollars or US dollars, in the case of the DMA, with respect to international securities, you have to have another account. I'm not sure to the specifics, because There was something last year. I'm not sure of the current information now, but it's supposed to be a two-way street, meaning that Jamaican investors can purchase figures in Canada and Canadian investors can purchase here in Jamaica. So while this opportunity for many persons, it would and create the opportunity for us to actually buy fixed outside of Jamaica, there are still alternatives out there, and I'm looking forward to see the current fee structure that is being associated with the product that's being offered by this QMAX right now, and as person mentioned, Barita, because as it currently stands, brokers are charging like probably 10, 25 US dollars per trade to trade on the US or the Canadian market, international markets, if you go through them, versus going through an interactive brokers or so forth, which is charging you cents on the dollar. So I'll just look and see how it progresses, but it's a good thing for the JSE, more revenue for them, and at the same time, it creates a great opportunity for local investors who want to invest outside of Jamaica.
Yeah, that's a very important point with the fee difference, 10 to 25 US dollars per trade. So if you're trading on the US markets, your money have to up. You can't be making small trades. It doesn't make sense because the fees are so high. So yes, I see Khalil says that we should try to get QMax on the show. Absolutely, definitely going to work on that because we need to hear, what the fee structure is like. How is it going to work? What do I need to do? And so many questions arise as it relates to this. So, Andre, your reaction?
So yeah, I think it's great news. Allows investors to be able to purchase assets listed on internet operating in geographic locations outside of Jamaica and the Caribbean. You're talking Canadian assets, US assets. So investors will be exposed to assets in different currencies. So with that comes, diversification where currency is concerned, where geographic operations of the investments, the companies within which they're investing is concerned. So I think it's great news. I'm hoping it's one that will complement the purchase of local listed companies and not take away from it, and then we also want to be mindful of all the inherent risk associated with markets outside of
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And even thinking about the ease of doing it, because QMax is one of the more recent entrants to the brokerage firms. They just became a licensed broker last year. And I don't know that they have online. What's that, David?
A couple of years ago, the brokers that came last year were FSC Investments Limited and Ideal Securities Broker Limited. Remember, QMax prior name was Credit Union Fund Management Company Limited.
Yeah. They changed the name. You're right. Yeah. No, but my question was, how easy is it going to be? Because I don't know that they have online trading platform and, all of that.
They're on JTrader Pro,
They do?
They said they're on JTrader Pro.
Okay. All right. So Lucian says, with those fees, I'll stick to interactive brokers. The challenge there is that you have to have a US account, right, in order to be able to use interactive brokers. So that's a challenge that some people have. You don't have to have a US account? I saw you shaking your head, David. No?
Like people literally do wires out of Jamaica, pay the one fee and just send the money to their brokers and their trades. Like, that's what persons do. Or they find apps that charge much less to move money to the country.
Yeah.
So your person transferring
people always find a way to work around the system. So the next thing that she mentioned was short selling by the end of the year. I said it then. I'll believe it when I see it because they've been promising this for a few years now. But how big a deal would that be when it comes, Andre?
So short selling, it would contribute to the sophistication and deepening of our local stock exchange. I believe it would drive liquidity and it would give some sense to some stock price valuations. For example, in instances where stocks have been deemed to be overvalued, one could decide to take a short position, and then important information will have to be made available, like the short interest, the number of shares that have been shorted relative to the outstanding number of shares, and that would guide investor decisions, because things like that kind of it kind of allows you to see where the mindset is of the wider investment market, which includes, the institutional investors as well as the retail investors. I think Miss Street Forrest made mention that only a select pool of stocks will be shorted, and I support that. I believe with shorting, certain rules and regulations will have to be put in place, because with investing in stocks, should trades not go your way, you pretty much stand to lose what you have invested. But with shorting stocks, you stand to lose way more than what you have invested, because if you are unable to buy the shares that you need to return that you've borrowed, and the price just keeps going higher and higher and higher, you need to find that money to buy those shares and return those shares that you've borrowed. So I believe things like a maintenance minimum maintenance requirement, to be put in place. Miss Street Forrest made mention that one would have to cover their short position. Maybe a recommended cover position would be 120 to 150%. I believe that's the norm. So I believe in the US are somewhere along that line. So with shorting, it's very important to know the risks associated, all the risks that are involved, and then I'm excited to see our market isn't really as liquid as the US market. A lot of shares of these companies are held by the top 10 shareholders, institutional investors that don't really trade, pension funds. So pretty much in order for one to short these companies, shares would have to be made available that can be, investors can borrow in order to short.
Well, I always have to remember to take it back basic, because we have all levels of people who watch the show, and Natoya wants to know, what is short selling?
Okay, so short selling is pretty much borrowing shares and then you're selling it, hoping in anticipation that the price falls, and you're able to repurchase the shares at a lower price, return it to the lender, and then pretty much you pocket the difference. So you're borrowing the shares, you're selling it high, and you're buying it low, and then you return the shares.
So you're placing a bet that the share price is going to fall.
Yes, and you could do your research, your analysis. You're not liking the performance, or the industry within which it operates, suggests that profitability is likely to slow or decrease going forward. One would then probably be inclined to short the company's stock in order to profit. It allows one to profit when the stock price goes down, and even when the wider market goes down.
Yeah. How risky is this?
So it's relatively very risky. As I said, with stocks, with investments in stocks, when you go long on a stock, you pretty much stand to lose 100% of what you have invested in the instance that the stock was bankrupt. With shorting, you stand to lose more than that, because if the stock price rises into infinity, some way, shape, or form, you have to buy the shares, and the shares would have to be available for you to purchase. So as I said, our market, not as liquid. You would have to be able to purchase the shares at the price that you're selling for, and the number of shares that you want to purchase would have to be available as well. So it's pretty risky.
All right, so we're definitely going to need a lot more education on this leading up to when it eventually is allowed in Jamaica. But for now, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Andre, David, and I appreciate you having you on for the first time, Andre.
Glad to be here. It was a great experience.
Yes, and David, you're a veteran to the show, so your presence is always highly appreciated.
Thanks.
All right. So that is the analyst segment. I want to remind you to drop a like. I have a few announcements coming up in the next segment, so stick around for just a few.
This segment of Taking Stock, the Analysts, was brought to you by Jamaica National Group. We'll help you find a way.
Hey, money makers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilaReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money. Let's get this money. So big up our new sponsor for the analyst segment, JN Group. So always big up JMB as well, our day one Bulwark Insurance Agency, day one as well, and welcoming JN Group to the program. In a couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing analysts from JN Group participating in the show. So thank you for watching. Even though I know you had options for your attention tonight, our viewership wasn't as high as it usually is, and I understand, but I appreciate those of you who joined us live. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with a friend. Also want to remind you that we recently launched on Patreon. Patreon is a platform that allows you to support your favorite creators, me, financially, and you do get benefits when you become a patron on Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/Kalila Ray. We have different tiers. You can support us for $5 a month, $10 a month, or $15 a month, and you have various benefits that come with that subscription. So at the $5 level, you get all of our documents that we send out in the email from time to time. So if you joined us late, if you subscribed late, you have access to all the past documents, and we're going to be adding a new document at least once a month. At the $10 level, you also have access to what else again? I can't even remember right now. Oh, all tiers come with stickers. You're going to get some Let's Get This Money stickers. At the $10 level, I'm trying to remember what it is that you get. I can't remember at this moment, but you can go to patreon.com/Kalila Ray to find out. I do know at the $15 level, one of the benefits that you get is the actual script of the show. This is a big deal. So even before the show comes out on Monday, our script is usually prepared for the show, which includes, who our guests are going to be, the questions that we're going to ask them. We don't even share this with the guests, but you can get it on Patreon. And that also allows you to participate in the production of the show. So if you want to submit questions to us to consider in advance, I know you can ask questions in the chat too, but if you want to actually make our question list, you can do that by becoming a $15 Patreon, I think it's called Prime or something, subscriber. Go to patreon.com/Kalila where you get to participate in the production of this very show. You can even, suggest topics for the show. And we love having your participation in the creation of this program because you are our true fans, right? Our day ones. You are here watching this program, even though World Championships is on. And I love you and appreciate you for that. So if you haven't done it just yet, hit the like button on the video on Facebook or YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and share with a friend. If you haven't done it yet, you need to be on our newsletter. KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter is where you subscribe, and reminding you that new email subscribers get a copy of my free broker guide. And turn on those post notifications so that you can be the first to see everything that comes out. We want to help people learn more about money so that we can all get this money together. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kalila Ray, and follow at KRM_business news on Instagram. Remember, these are my only platforms. I don't have any backup pages. If you see any backup pages or any fake pages coming up, please click report. Now, if you want to connect with the analysts this week, check the description box below for their contact information. And another thing you can do is visit the website, KalilaReynolds.com, for financial information you can use however you like it. Watch, listen, or read. Now, tell a friend about taking stock because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalila Reynolds. See you next week.
Let's get this money.